So most I've ever won at one time would be around 13, 14,000.
So how does this work out where people can make some money doing it?
When you are betting, when you are wagering more and more money, when you have the advantage, over time you are going to have bigger wins and smaller losses than if you were to vary your wager sort of arbitrarily, not according to any count or anything, superstitions, I lost three in a row, I can't lose the fourth. A lot of gambling fallacies. So think of it this way. At a +3, you have, a little bit over a percent, 1% edge. At 1% average return on your average bet, that means you're making your average bet per hour. Yes, you will have to weather some variance, like some wins and losses, but imagine your average bet is even $100. That's $100 per hour. That's a respectable income.
Is it hard to do though? Like, is it really that hard? It's like one of those things, like once you kind of like, all right, this isn't that hard.
No, it's not, because all you're doing, in order to keep track, all you're doing, I don't know how much you've heard about card counting, but you hear people say +1, +2, -1. Have you heard all that sort of jargon or?
Kind of, yeah. Like I've seen a movie about it, right? And like,
yeah, 21.
Yeah.
You basically assign values to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as +1. You assign it a +1 value. There are different counting systems, but we're just going to stick to the main one. So every time a deuce, 3, 4, 5, 6 comes into play, you just add 1. Right? And then 7, 8, and 9 tend to be more neutral cards, so you just ignore them. And then every time a 10, jack, queen, king, ace is discarded, you subtract 1. So all you're actually doing is adding and subtracting 1 and betting bigger when the plus number is higher. So not really very difficult at all to execute if you can add and subtract by 1.
So, okay, let's say that you're having a normal hand, so to speak. Your normal bet is what? You see, let's just assume for the sake of kind of just easy numbers, right? Let's just say your normal bet is 100 a hand. When you see the count really go in your favor, what will you jump that up to?
With my personal bankroll, I would feel like I wouldn't want to go more than 10-1, which is already an aggressive spread, because at 3-4% edge, you can lose a lot of, if you're doing over 10-1, let's say 20-1, you're betting $2,000, you can still lose, 6 figures over the course of time, betting with that big of a spread. So I'd probably do something around 10-1 and feel very happy and safe with it. No bigger than 10-1. And I would bet, I would bet between 100 and 1,000, and I would err towards betting 1,000 on a true count of about +5 or bigger if I were allowed to do it.
So you'll jump it up pretty significantly, but not super crazy.
The only reason I won't bet more at $100 min is just because I'm not rich enough to be able to take, several hundred K worth of losses on a bad run. It's going to hurt my ability in the future to continue playing and playing profitably. So I'm going to find an amount that I can tolerate the downswings and be able to continue playing in the future. Yeah, it all adds up in the end. It's just about like the math. It's funny, you're kind of like trusting the math more than the results.
So how do the casinos feel about this?
Oh, they hate it. They hate it. They loathe it.
They know it works, or why do you think that they hate it so much?
In general, card counters are the reason there's so much scrutiny in casino blackjack, because the house is trying to protect their games from being taken advantage of. And the blackjack card counters are in there trying to take as big of a cut as they can from those casinos for as long as they can. And so, yeah, they definitely don't like it.
So what will they do? Like, will they cut you off, or how does this kind of work?
A lot of people are still not aware that the casinos, they'll go in and they'll lose, their retirements. They'll go in, they'll lose their net worth, and the casinos will, be happy to take it. But if someone goes in there and tries to get a 1% advantage over the house over time, then they're just going to straight up tell you can't play there. They're going to kick you out. Eventually, if you keep coming back, they're going to trespass you. They're going to try to harass you. And I wanted to get undercover footage of all of those types of encounters. And so that's kind of what started my content, is I wanted to show people this is what happens if you make profitable bets against the house at all. They ban you, they kick you out.
Like, how do they figure out that you're doing this?
So step one is they will monitor the betting patterns of the players in surveillance, because like I told you, blackjack has a lot of scrutiny on the game because they know that blackjack is susceptible to being exploited by card counters. So they'll have people in surveillance monitoring the betting habits, patterns of the customers. And they might have software, they might have individuals who can keep the count. Plus they have, they can go back through footage and review footage, and they have a couple, benefits that you don't have while you're counting live. And once they identify that, wow, every time the count is at a certain point, this person is betting on average, 5 times larger than their average wager. Yeah, he's going to make profit off us over time. Ban him. And they don't care if you lose or win. That's the misconception about card counting. I had gone into Red Rock and lost $10,000, and when I went to pull more out in their high limit room, they banned me. When I went down to my last, as I was down to my last chip, reaching for more cash, they said, "Sorry, you're too good for us." I just lost $10,000. They said I was too good for them.
Now, is this a process that you go through, like every time you come into a casino, like they got to figure it out, they got to do that stuff? Or do they kind of know you coming in sometimes?
Now they know me coming in. It got to the point where I would walk onto a property and they would have surveillance. Some of the higher end places and regions, they would have surveillance or security like on their headphone. I would see them look at me, and then they would look down, and then they would kind of like tail me from a distance and then talk to someone else, and they'd walk away, and all of a sudden I have someone else trailing me, and then they're just keeping an eye on where I go and what I do, and it's just not really comfortable. It's not fun. It might sound like exciting, but at some point it feels like it's really frustrating. Pretty much every place I go in, I sit down, and I can't get much time. Mostly only the smaller places I can maybe get an hour, and then they'll ban me.
Are they usually kind of jerks about it, or are they just kind of like, "Hey man, it's over"?
It's hit and miss. In my experience, some of the tribal casinos are, I don't know if I would say jerks, but they try to intimidate you as much as they can. They're playing like a psychological warfare type of game against you, and they're trying to like make sure you never come back because you're afraid to come back.